Axons Unleashed.
G'day everyone, Robbie Turner's my name. Welcome back to Axons Unleashed. Hey, it's 2023. I remember, if you guys have listened to the last episode of last year, was my lovely wife, Tamara, the general manager of the firm here, asking me 50 questions off script, off leash, about me turning 50. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. That was over a two-part series. Now we're going to kick into something a little bit different. We're going to start talking about people. So we're going to introduce you to more of the team. I know you guys have really been seeking that over the last little while. I know you love the behind-the-scenes stuff and get to know the fabric and the soul and the substance about who Axon is. So we're going to start bringing in some of the team members, and specifically from a veteran point of view, is like, what was basic training like? So I know you guys have seen and heard my Robbie's endeavour into Kapuka stories, and you probably have even seen and heard about what it was like when I went down the Duntroon as I was one of the instructors there. So now we're going to give you guys an insight into, like, what about Damo? What about James? What about Amana? What about Luke? Like, etc. All the veterans that work here in the business, what was their basic training like? And I go, what was it fucking like getting your head shaved? And were you crying back to your mum a week later going, get me the fuck out of here, like I did? So I'm really looking forward to getting an insight. Now, you may hear a little chuckle in the background, and it gives me an absolute huge pleasure to introduce this fucking ocean-going, weapons-grade fellow we got here. Lukey Millwood, welcome to Axons Unleashed, mate. I know this has been a long time coming for you. We'll pass on the story in a second, but you've been inside the Axon wire, formerly with a shirt on, since late last year, but we've done a whole lot of OJT. So you've seen me do plenty of these, and this is your first time in front of the mic, mate. Welcome.
Thanks, RT, mate. It's great to be here. You stole the words out of my mouth, dude. Like, you know, it has been a long time coming. We've known that this was going to be the case for a long time, and it was always in our plan for me to, you know, end up on this side of the camera with you, being able to support veterans, on their side of the camera. So, mate, I can't say enough how grateful, how happy how excited I am to be here. And 2023 is going to be our year, mate. We've got so much great stuff for our clients. We've got so much great development for ourselves, going through that process to make sure we're bringing our best to the table for our clients' journey.
Yeah, so good. So in the name of making sure that people get to know who you are, obviously you and I have known each other for a long while, but let's go back to before that even more. Where did you grow up, and like, why is it that you even joined the military in the first place?
Mate, I grew up in country New South Wales in Canberra, so most people refer to it as the centre of the universe. Everything else revolves around that. No, it's a small country town, mate. So much like yourself, sort of 10,000 people. Fluctuates when people die, people are born. That's a big impact on the town. And I was a cadet tragic. So my grandparents sort of, they wanted me to have a little bit of discipline in my life because I was a little bit of a rat bag. And so they sort of dragged me along to a couple of cadet nights.
How good's fucking being a rat bag when you're younger? For all those that knew me back in Port Period, Mum and Dad, again, I know you're listening and watching. They're like, yes, you were a fucking rat bag. Please, mate.
Well, I think it creates the foundations of our character, right, as we go forward. And we've got those lessons learnt that we can pass on based on our fucking silly decisions. Mate, so I did some cadets and saw that as an option and sort of flipped the coin between going and being a police officer or going into being into the military. I had some rather poor advice from a couple of my school mentors. The career advisor at school sort of said, hey, Luke, you've got the character that probably will suit a TAFE course. Don't try and go to the military, and specifically don't try and go to Duntroon or ADFA. So you can imagine my response to that.
Yeah, fucking what's this?
Yourself. Yeah. So
why did he say that though? Because you are the quintessential bloke from a army officer point of view.
I think he saw that rat bag behaviour that I was, those short-sighted sort of, mannerisms that I had when I was younger, focused on footy, focused on the gym, focused on, small town. You've still got those small town mentalities whilst I was always striving for more. You're also you're a big fish in a small pond. And so I think he just saw that as something that he thought would suit my character, as opposed to being in a complex environment and having to solve those really complex problems, that you go through in your military career.
Do you think he has observed your journey?
Oh, mate, I went back and told him.
Well, that's a yes then. Yeah. Good. And what was his response? You're like, hey, fuckface.
He was humbled.
Yeah.
He was humbled. I sort of went back. I've got some very, very close mentors that I owe a lot to that were school teachers of mine. And they were two guys that invested a lot of time in me, and I owe them a lot, as well as other people along my journey, of course. So I went back to the school to visit them as a little bit of a high five and a thank you, and sort of to show them that, what they may have changed the life of one student. And subsequently in that, I was still in that arrogant, pig-headed state of, I need to show this dickhead that I also made it.
You know what? I too had some really great school teachers that mentored me in many ways, and I'm now saddened that I hadn't had the opportunity not to go back and fly the flag in their face, but to go back and shake their hand and go, hey man, thanks so much for investing some time and showing a little belief in this rat bag back in the day. They obviously saw something in me. Me joining the military, as you know, was never on my radar either. Literally bloody got thrown in the back of the car with my late grandmother and my mum, and we drove down to Adelaide for me to go and find a job. I found myself in the recruiting office.
Shaving your head.
Well, that didn't happen straight up, but it was only about 6 weeks later I was at Kapuka. So sometimes joining the military is not on our radar. Like did you used to play Cowboys and Indians and stuff when you were younger?
Of course I did, mate.
Yeah, right. I didn't, see. So this was never on my radar. And even though my grandfathers both fought in World War II, it was never spoken about. And my dad and all my uncles missed the whole Vietnam sort of subscription thing. So there was like a generation missed in my life from a military point of view. But I'm really glad to know that you've sort of thought about joining the military for a long time.
Yeah, I had, mate. And I guess one of the options that one of the reasons that I looked at the military was because I knew that I wanted more than what was available to me in a small town. I wanted more of the life challenges. I wanted more of those life experiences. And so the military just kind of fit that for me. It gave me the stability of, employment, education, opportunity, and we'll go into a bit more what that looks like, in a couple of minutes. But it also gave me the option of not being in a small town, and that was sort of my near goal, near target. And so the way I went through the process was I sort of almost threw my hand up in year 10 to join as a digger. I was really close. It was sort of like flipping a coin type stuff. And those two teachers convinced me to stay in. They said, finish your HSC, Luke, finish your education, your initial education. It won't be a huge advantage to you if you have your HSC, but it'll be a huge disadvantage to you if you want to go down this path in the future to be able to achieve this. And so, thankfully I was clever enough or influenced enough to be able to listen to them at that point in time.
I'd probably say you and I do have very similar personalities and a similar vibe. And I bet there's a lot of people out there that didn't know that I completed my year 12 either. So you do when you've because when someone's just a rat bag and they're just having a bit of a play up and they're good at sport, and you might not think, oh, he's just just good at sport. He might not have the brains, the brawn only. But yeah, when you've got this sort of energy and you're able to join it together with a decent education, it can take you a reasonable amount of steps.
As most of our audience will know, mate, it's a force multiplier. They'll know that. They'll know that turn of phrase well. It value adds to who you are as a character and allows you to be able to rely on those character traits in a much more succinct and much more powerful way to achieve what you want to achieve.
So you skipped the whole digger thing?
I did,
which is
I did.
Good for you, but you did miss out on some formative years, and
I don't know if I would have survived as a digger, mate. And so I looked sort of down the officer path, and that was about that point in time where that.
What year we're talking? Just for
2003.
Right.
So way back in 2003. So I was sort of looking around, poking around what it looked like and the options to join. So what the mechanisms were to sort of have officer training school, and I was fairly hard and fast on going army. Like I thought that was definitely for me. I didn't think the Navy or the Air Force were going to suit my character. Of course, that's no slight or slant on on the Navy or the Air Force. I just thought that my character type would be suited much better to go into the army.
Yeah, I don't reckon you'd enjoy sitting in a sub, and your shoulders are a bit too big for an F-18 seat. So yeah, go army. There's plenty of fucking room in the back of a lab for you though.
Yeah, mate. So after that, I started doing it. It was a bit inquisitive. So jumped in, sort of had a look at it, and went through the officer selection board, and sort of I left my options open. I was waiting for my HSC results. That obviously is a requirement for you to gain entry into ADFA, and so that was still up in the air whether I would get the right level of entry to the right UAI to enter at ADFA. Cool. And so I had on the table to go to RMC or to go to ADFA if that option became available. Lo and behold, I got in by 1 point. So
on the line's in.
On the line's in. It tried.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Go to the video ref. Your fucking flag's up.
Straight to the bunker.
Boom.
So I packed up my shit and headed on a bus and I found myself arriving in Canberra at ADFA in the start of 2004.
I don't genuinely know what happens when you get off the bus at ADFA. I know what happens when I got off the bus at Kapooka, and then I used to get recruits off the bus at Kapooka. Obviously, I saw people get marched across the hill from ADFA to Duntroon and get off the bus at Duntroon. But what happens when you get off the bus at ADFA?
It's much less of a chaotic experience. Like there's much less yelling. There's much less of that approach of capture and or that's applied to sort of that reshaping of civilians into army recruits.
Because you go there to start your degree, so it's not like a military university. It's like for those non-defence people, just sort of give it like a 1 minute spiel on how would you explain ADFA to someone who's asking?
So the campus is split essentially into two parts. So and it's tri-service as well. So the campus is split in two parts. One is the academic part, and the other part is the military part. So essentially, from an army perspective, that you go through that first 6 months of training that they would do in a condensed series. You do that over the 3 years of your degree there. So you split. So all of your living and accommodation is all very military and all sort of treated like not a recruit, but treated like a cadet. Lots and lots and lots and lots of dress inspections, lots of room inspections, lots of timings, lots of drill practice, that kind of stuff, which kind of conflicts in my mind, having that extreme discipline and that extreme kind of, I don't want to say submissive because that's not the case, but you're obviously in defence where you are learning and you're applying that disciplined approach. Whereas over in the academic space, they're asking you to open your mind and be liberal and question everything. And, so there's that real clash of cultures that goes on while you're there as well.
It would have given you a bit of whiplash. Like they are worlds apart.
Yeah.
Obviously, a civilian has to go through the transition of having the discipline and having the teamwork and the punctuality.
Yep.
Organisation, attention to detail, those things that you were describing back there. But yeah, going through basic training in a 6 month period over 3 years is a very elongated. Like you would have been a pain in the ass by the end of it.
Well, it was So
and then I know it's not over because then you come over the hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a 6 week period at the start called YOF, so the initial induction that you go through.
Right.
It's fairly graduated, so it's not like Kapooka where it's shock and awe. I, of course, made my situation more difficult for myself than needed to be.
I don't believe you.
Thought I was a funny prick.
Yeah.
And on my first day, I was rocking up with my bags, mate, and I saw my first sergeant, so my first, sort of divisional sergeant. Mm-hmm. He's a great man. Glenn Armstrong is his name. If you're listening, Glenn, g'day. I still thank you for everything you taught us.
That's nice.
He's about 6'3". He was about 135 kilos, arms covered in tats, and this is me straight out of school. I walked up the stairs with my bags and thought I was going to be funny. I looked at him and said, "Oh, get fucked, I'm going home." Turned around and he, of course, flew off the handle. Get the fuck. So I made it way more difficult for myself than I needed to be.
You've seen him, you're like, fuck this, I'm out of here.
He's a mountain of a man.
Yeah, right. That's good, mate. And what were the sort of, were you in a tri-service environment as well, or did they have the army people over there doing army training, or was it literally a tri-service induction for 6 weeks?
So it was, from memory, I think it was broken. It was tri-service induction for the first 6 weeks, and then you go off and do your single service training. So it's all about that inculcation of culture and understanding and discipline and that sort of over that compressed time frame. And then, as you said before, it then elongates out over the next 3 years of your time period there, where you then focus and hone in on those specific skill sets and requirements for each of the services. One of the big benefits that we absolutely got out of ADFA was the network and understanding of what is available to us from a defence capability perspective. So, going down the track, fast forwarding sort of 10, 15 years after my time there, I'm jumping ahead. But what it gave me was a network of connections and people that I could rely on to fill information and knowledge gaps based on a shared experience or personal engagement that I'd had with them way back at ADFA.
You've still got that now.
I do.
I've seen you talk to clients who are in the Air Force or in the Navy. You're like, actually, I've got a mate, I reckon, who's still in that, because you've only been out less than a year.
Yeah.
So you're very contemporary.
Yeah.
So you've like that at that very senior 04 level. I know you've reached out to many people within that network that you've still got some 15, 16 years later to try and get a bit of an insight into trying to help some of our clients. So it's enduring, and that'll never end.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I am so grateful to still have those connections, and I'll maintain them, of course, first and foremost because I care about those people and they're friends of mine, but also gives me an understanding of an ability to maintain our contemporary approach to the defence sphere, because obviously it's an ever-changing beast. Every time the government changes, defence focus changes, and so us keeping our finger on the pulse will mean that we can relate back to our clients in a much better, much more detailed, much more succinct way for them.
Awesome. my 3 years at Duntroon as an instructor there, I had very little contact with the cadets that first got off the bus at ADFA. Did you get your head shaved when you first got there?
Yeah, mate, of course.
You're
Yeah,
right.
We straight over. In fact, one of my mates, we all had our head shaved. That was pretty uneventful other than the fact that you have to shave your bloody head. But straight after that, we were all sitting in the rec room looking like a pile of Brussels sprouts. And one of my good friends, now good friends, came in, and he was a surfy, and he was actually joining the Navy. And he walked in and sort of looked around the room. He was late, and it had been organised that he was going to be late. He walked in and sort of looked around the room, had a laugh. He said, "What the fuck happened to you, like?" And then Glenn Armstrong, that mountain of a man, was standing behind him and grabbed him on the shoulder and said, "You're coming with me,
Follow
mate."
me, champ.
Shaved all his locks off. He said he was heartbroken.
I bet he was. I bet he was. That would have been male-female environment as well?
No, well, it was across the college. Across the academy, it was male and female. But my division specifically was just through the way the sort of the cards fell on the table.
Right.
It was all male. So we were referred to as a stag div, and there was one other, but the rest of the academy was mixed.
And how was that, mate, when you got to meet so many different guys across so many different ages, backgrounds, cultures, upbringings, attitudes, and you're just fucking thrown into this blender, and you're like, you fuckers get on, work out your team hierarchy, and you're all at the same level, but you had those senior NCOs that were being your instructors and your mentors along the way there. So when did you sort of first work out that shit was starting to get real, and you needed to perform, otherwise you're going to be singled out real quick?
So my approach is sort of during basic training, stay in the middle. You want to stay in that middle ground so that you're not raising your head above the parapet.
The old grey man.
Stay grey. Stay as grey as you can. No, as in, not grey in terms of your performance, but you don't want to stick your head above the parapet as an arrogant prick, and you also don't want to be the guy or girl identified in the back of the pack who's dragging it. For me, it was probably when the real heavy PT session started to kick in for me. I was very physically fit and focused on sort of achieving while I was there.
Yep.
And that's sort of, talking to a couple of our younger potential future clients, asking for advice and guidance. And in fact, we've got one guy who's on his way to Kapooka today. I got goosebumps when he was messaging me on the bus. He's like, "I'm on my way down."
Yeah.
The strong advice I gave them was, be prepared for anything, of course, but also make sure you're physically fit, because you don't want to be able to have a target painted on your back by not performing in the physical space, because that's often one of the first units of measure that staff will use to identify your dedication and identify, your grit.
Yeah. What was some of the things that you found most challenging?
For me, over the period of training, because it was a 4-year period, it was just...
Let's focus on the initial bit for now.
The initial? Yeah.
Not when you ran into me, because I know that was hard as well. No, I'm just talking about the transition from civvy to really knowing that you're got a uniform on now and shit's like you're operating your life at a higher level.
That higher level point, it's about you're operating on a clock. Everything was driven towards time to instill a sense of urgency in you. And so I went from someone who was at high school, hanging out, drinking beers with my mate, to, getting, you need to be here, and you need to be here in the next 30 seconds or there's going to be trouble.
Consequences for you and everyone else.
Yeah, and that was in the good old days where, collective punishment was still, it was a reward.
Was there something that you found reasonably easy? Besides the physical bit, was there an element of the skills and other things that you were being taught at the technical level that you actually surprisingly found easy?
The academic, so even the military, I don't mean academic in terms of the university side, but the learning, the rote learning and that kind of, exposure to that new information, things like RATEL procedure.
Weapons, fieldcraft, all that stuff. Putting up a hoochie, bloody using the Fred to open up your bloody your cheese and your veggie and stuff.
Yeah, because I was a bit of a rough and tumble kid, when we got into the hands-on stuff, I sort of thrived in that environment far less, as in understanding that environment and using that information to be able to apply it in a fieldcraft sense. So I kind of found that whilst I didn't particularly enjoy being outfield in the initial phases, I found it rather easy.
Canberra's climate is harsh. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's fucking not real flash.
You just brought me to a point that I'd forgotten and I'd suppressed
You're
until
welcome.
now. Thank you, RT. My first picket. So for those of you that don't know, a picket is when you basically you're standing guard essentially. So you're out in a field position.
You're laying on your guts. You're not standing anywhere.
You're laying on your guts. You've occupied a harbour. So you're in a circle and you sort of identify the most likely enemy approach, and then someone lays up on in a sequence. You get up for an hour or whatever it works out to be.
To protect everyone else while they're sleeping.
Yeah, so that everyone else can have a nod. My first pick, it was the coldest on record night in Canberra.
Still, ever.
I don't know ever, but it was
easily.
Oh, it was the hardest night.
The hardest night everyone ever gone to.
I had
the least amount of sleep. This is like fucking
put your helmets on.
Warriors 101. Boom.
I thought to myself, I don't know if this army thing's for me. They can get fucked. I'm not laying here in the cold for the next 4 years.
Isn't it? Yeah. Fuck, I don't miss that shit one little bit. Well, interestingly, was there anyone in your stag division there that like put his hand up and went, I'm fucking out of here? This is not what I thought was going to be.
Yeah, man. We had like, I don't have the figures.
Because it's not like a selection course that's encouraged.
Yep.
That's unusual for that to be the case, and they've got to go through a board of studies and like look into it, make sure they're not injured. Are they psychologically still okay? But was there people that literally put their hand up and like effectively rang the bell?
Yeah. We had people ringing the bell the whole way through. So from right through the 6-week part, we did. As you're going through that, that norming, storming, performing type arrangement, we had that, of course, and you got to identify those phases. And through those phases, we developed a really close relationship with those guys in the division, and that was very supportive. And so, it wasn't a competition. Guys were looking to support each other and help each other out get through. But there were still guys that just said, this is not for me. Like I've just quickly come to realise that this army thing is absolutely not for me. And that was all the way through our training.
Yeah. Apart from old Armstrong by name and Armstrong by nature, was there some other instructors there that you were just in awe of as far as their presentation, their dressing, their bearing, their communication style, and you're just like, whatever you want me to do, dude, I'll look up to you and I can't wait to be like you one day. Like, does that really rub off on you at all?
RMC very much.
Right.
So there's a lot more when I think about it, and I'm not saying there's no judgment spread on the staff at ADFA. You get far less contact with the staff at ADFA, even though they're your direct staff. You get far less contact with them than what you do over when you go over the hill. And so for me, it was far more about that drive, that focus, that leadership, that exemplar that the staff showed at Duntroon, moreover than, because they're little, I don't want to use the word coddling, but they're looking after you in a sense because they've got to balance that.
As opposed to instructing you. Yeah, right.
They're balancing the academic with the military training.
Yeah. Let's talk about the academic stuff for a little bit. Did you find it, how did you find it? It's like if you were exhausted from some tough PT or a couple of days out bush or whatever, and then you're like basically got to switch your brain back on and go into university mode.
Yeah.
How was that? How are you managing that?
Rubbish.
Yeah.
It was rubbish, mate.
Yeah.
Like I guess it was because it was such a stark difference between the two. That was the hardest thing to manage. So, you're going from full-on military mindset, full-on military brain, where you're thinking about, sort of end states, you're thinking about mission sets, you're thinking about those kinds of arrangements. Then you got to, as I said before, switch back over to an academic sort of mindset where you're opening to everything. You're opening to argument. You're opening to sort of, discourse and that kind of arrangement. So
you dress perfectly with your shiny shoes on, belts on, but you can be a little bit more ragged-tagged if you're in your camos.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's still always that military in there, even when you're in the academic theatre. Like it was, if you don't show up to class, they'll charge you. Failure to a praise parade. If you fall asleep in class, you're at least getting a couple of extras, and they'll likely charge you.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, but not unmanageable. There's been thousands and thousands of people that have managed to do it. Is it the optimum model? I don't know. I don't know if that's the optimum outcome that
it's a proven model,
but exactly.
It doesn't mean it's optimal.
Exactly, it's proven and it works, and it inculcates people and onboards people over a long period of time, and the outcome is they're getting the officers that they want, and I can only assume that is still the case.
No doubt. How was it? Everyone's like Army, Navy, Air Force. The Army guys and girls know that they're going up to Duntroon, and then the Air Force and the Navy guys and girls go off to do something. Like is that at the end of year 3?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so sort of and how's the lead up to that, and how's the anticipation of that, or going over the hill as you call it, as it's known?
Yeah.
And then with the Air Force and Navy, people are like, fuck that. See, like you got another 12 months of this shit.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'll give you an example. To sort of paint a picture of what it's like, the relationship. Obviously, they're your mates. You're going through this process with them. We have our final graduation ceremony where we all graduate. We then go off and do our dinner where we all celebrate and, of course, have a few sherbets. At the end of that, so you finish that up at probably 4:30 in the morning on the Saturday morning.
At an early one.
Yeah, early one. You're then up at 6:30 to march yourself over the hill or be marched over the hill by the staff. It's a tradition, or I'm not sure if it's still the case, but it was a tradition in ADFA where the Navy and the Air Force would line the road, sit down on the side of the road with their bloody chairs millionaire and just clap us over.
You fuckheads.
They'd clap us over. What have you done?
Yeah.
And so, it's nerve-wracking, but it's also exciting. It's kind of that point of transition where you're not being whiplashed in terms of your thought process. Like you're going over there to become a professional officer.
Army officer.
An army officer. And the advice that I got from another gentleman, Anthony Birch, who was my divisional officer for a while. Yeah, Birchie. He said to me, mate, you're going to fucking hate it. You're going to hate every second of being at Duntroon, but you're going to love what you come out as. So you're the end product after Duntroon, like you're being pushed through a sausage factory, another proven model that works. But the product that will come out at the end will be a different person that went in, and you'll have, a real understanding of who you are as a character. You'll have a real understanding of characters around you and how to judge people through adversity and tough times. And you're also going to be able to rely on, you're going to be confident in yourself and your ability based on the environment that you're going into, which is absolutely, critical as an officer.
I had the absolute pleasure of marching over the hill and going to collect said cadets, and Bombardier Turner came back out, and it was fucking back in the shock and awe mode. Righto, listen here, you fucking squeezers.
Yep.
The M in RMC means military. You're not at fucking university anymore. You're with me. Quick march, and away we go.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, mate. I'm getting shivers.
I can't remember whether I did that with you or not, because I did it a few times over my 3 years there, and it's irrelevant. But did you feel a bit more of a shock? Did you know that you were entering into a professional military organisation now, not university?
Yeah, whilst that march over in and to itself, I was pretty focused on just staring at my boots because I was a little worse from wear after the function the night before.
Fair enough too.
But having said that, the lead up to Duntroon, it's like, there's butterflies, there's nerves. You are going into an environment where you are going to be measured by your worth is going to be measured on your performance as an officer.
Your ability to lead.
Yeah, you are under the microscope, and I felt that when I got there. I felt that sort of shift. Whereas you can kind of hide in the bleachers at ADFA a little bit because the staff, you got less contact. As soon as you're at Duntroon, mate, everything you do, you fart and it's measured.
Yeah,
which is for good reason. It's to make sure that soldiers that outside are getting the leaders that they need, and so it's an absolute prerequisite.
It's known as Australia's premier leadership institution for a reason.
Absolutely.
And the fucking standards there that we like, because we had to go through our own almost say 3 or 4 week induction period as an instructor, which I found incredibly difficult because I didn't go through there as a cadet. Everyone else is like, oh yeah, I'm just back here, I remember. And that was easy for me to go back to Kapuka as a recruit instructor. Obviously rewind 9 years I was there, in the early 90s, but it was a very foreign place to me. I didn't know where the RAP was. I didn't know where the admin centre was. Where was the Q store? And everyone's walking around going, what do you mean you don't fucking know where it is? I'm like, I didn't come through here as a cadet champ. I'm a fucking senior NCO changeover. So it was a really really enlightening experience for me as well. And I loved my time down at Duntroon, even though as a junior and senior NCO, I ran into many officers that came out of the College of Knowledge, as it used to be called. And I'm like, how the fuck did this buffoon get through? And sure, there's always a few people that slip through the cracks. But the level of scrutiny and the level of performance that I then had the knowledge and also implement myself, I was like, there's no fucking way anyone on my watch who's coming through this joint is going to fucking slip through the cracks.
Yeah, and
did you feel that from the other instructors as well?
I think you were pretty successful at that. There were a couple of instructors that sort of ring true, in the back of my mind that were of the same kind of approach, I felt, and really, honed those standards on us, and held us to account. Because it's the whole thing is
that's the real world.
Exactly. The whole thing about it is being accountable, right? And that that accountability placed on your actions. It's not necessarily whether you go through and fuck up. Like, I'm sure there'll be ramifications if you fuck up, but the whole thing about Duntroon is accountability. And I felt like we absolutely got that from the instructors that were there with us, taking us through, was that real understanding of how important it is to be honest and how important it is to be accountable for your actions and owning your actions.
So we're talking 2007 now?
Yeah, 2007. So 2004, 5 and 6 were my years at ADFA, and then over the hill in January 2007, and 12 months. 12 months over there.
So just for context for everyone else, Duntroon's also got 3 separate classes. They go for 6 months, so there's 18 months worth of training at Duntroon. But the ADFA cadets skip 3rd class and they go straight into 2nd class.
Correct.
So all that other basic training, learning how to do all the cam cream, drill, marching, uniform, make your bed, all that other transition stuff is done, and you roll straight into second class, where it's still a healthy combination of classroom, physical training and practical application stuff, but it's not in a university environment. It's more of a, let's go learn shit in a classroom and apply it straight away.
Absolutely. You stole the words out of my mouth. It's the application of that knowledge immediately after to reinforce that learning. And there's, because you're learning over a 6-month period with, set requirements and set outcomes, there are opportunities to reinforce. And they build on those basic sort of skill levels that you had by, applying a slightly more complex problem set every sort of, couple of weeks.
Yeah. It's interesting as I'm now starting to sort of reflect on my time down there as well, and people are like, oh, I remember you were down there. I'm like, fuck, bro, it's like you're one of 600 people down there at any one time, and unless someone stands out and they've got a real character to them, it's just bloody hard to try and remember everyone. Even when I was an OC at 2 Commando, it's like 750 people are there. It's like it's fucking impossible to know everybody. But when you're like one of the top seven or eight people there, everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, of course. That was what I was about to say. It might be difficult for you to remember all of the cadets. Sure, not difficult for the cadets to remember a bloke when he comes in and says, when I'm wearing this hat here, ladies and gents, we're talking leadership.
Should have brought it in for today, actually. Yeah, so just let's do that for a second. So unless you guys and girls that are listening right now haven't realised, that's where Luke and I met.
Yeah.
At Duntroon. So I don't remember the very first time, but in the same he's like, he just I just disappointed you then, didn't I?
No, not at all.
But I'm sure you do, so I'd love to hear it as well.
Well, mate, it was actually my first introduction to RT Robbie Turner, Captain Turner, was you from memory, mate. And please correct me if I'm wrong, and I want to be as accurate as possible. I think you'd just come back off rotation, right? So you were as contemporary as you can possibly be.
Yeah, I got back April 2006, and I did the last part of 2006 working as the staff officer, the commandant up there, just to broaden my career. And that was good for me to sort of observe how the college works from afar. But then, start of 2007, I was sort of anointed as the inaugural SI of Leadership Wing by SAS bloody CO that was down there. He's like, right, RT, you're gonna do this certain activity for them and teach these young fuckers how to lead. Because it's interesting. Like the most important relationship that a young officer has is that with the senior NCO.
Oh, absolutely.
And there was no other ex-senior NCOs down there as one of the instructors. So I guess I had a unique position and viewpoint to come from.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like I want to echo that as well. I'm jumping forward a little bit, but that relationship that you have with your senior NCOs is absolutely fucking critical to the success of a young officer. Whilst you're in charge and you do make the ultimate decisions, the captain's calls on what goes on, you need someone to have a dead reckoner sounding board off to be able to make sure you're making those clear, logical, sort of outcomes focused decisions.
And one's unwillingness to do so, it will be at their peril.
Fucking
End of story.
Fucking I was so fortunate. I had two amazing sergeants. I worked in a couple of platoons, but two amazing sergeants who were, fearless in being frank with their advice and guidance. It's always in the right context, and it was always welcomed because I knew that at the heart of what they were doing was sort of, it was for the betterment of everyone.
It's like what it is here, mate.
Exactly.
Frank and fearless feedback comes as long as it's delivered from a place of care and the betterment of the organisation or the individual. Why wouldn't you be able to take that sort of thing? Here you go. I
was just going to say, mate, back to, we sort of side parted there. But so, in terms of my introduction to RT, it was actually when you came in and were giving us the first spiel on leadership as the SI and introducing yourself. So that was at the first point that I met you. And I think, whilst we, got to remember that the time period that it was occurring was 2007. So not everybody had been on rotation yet. It wasn't like those long drawn out conflicts that went.
Well, I just got back from SOTG rotation 1.
Exactly.
Because that was August 05 through to February 06. And came back, had 6 weeks off, bang, fucking you're down Duntroon.
Ladies and gents, that should paint a picture for you about sort of how early in the piece we're talking about when we're talking about the conflicts that we were sort of engaged with. Timor had been
no MRTF or nothing like that.
Exactly.
Like that was fucking years down the track.
Exactly, mate. So having that sort of, it gave you that, whilst, the credibility of standing up there, the rank on your chest in the military, it's one of the unique things about the military that gives you almost immediate credibility based on, your rank, the rank structure that's applied over the top of it. But of course, when somebody comes back from overseas and they're talking to you about leadership and they're being able to apply that to a real life example in combat or in conflict, whatever that looks like, that kind of puts you in a position where you go, holy shit, this bloke knows what he's talking about. And for us, that was an immediate level of respect that was applied to that. And it was, of course, the respect was earned. But that gave you the capacity to be able to really reach in and touch. There was no requirement for you to sort of have to build that bridge with us. It was already there. And so,
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good to know. And no doubt, there were some other bloody absolute Top Gun guys
Crackers.
and girl captains down there. You would have seen a real step up in the instructor capability, because at that second class level, you're not really talking to senior NCOs anymore. You're being led by captains.
Correct.
You're being led by military leaders already.
Correct, mate. It was. I often reflect on that and think, for all its flaws and for all its errors that, Dockham and Schema and those sorts of places get wrong, in my mind, one of the places that they get right is the selection of the candidates for leadership for the leadership positions.
Including Kapuka?
Including Kapuka, absolutely. I think that is one of the areas where we do get it right. But it's not necessarily...
You have to.
Yes.
Special Forces Training Centre, now known as something else, that had to go through its own transition period as well, because it was like, I don't want to fucking go there. I want to keep rotating. But then it'd be those same guys that'd be whinging about the quality of the Rios that are coming through.
Absolutely.
I'm like, well, you go down there and fucking train them then. So, that's
put your money where your mouth is.
But no, it's one of those things, and I've coached a few Axon clients over the years that have gone to Duntroon or Kapuka, and they're like, oh, not really sure what it's going to be like. I'm like, let me fucking tell you, you're going to love it.
Yeah,
I loved both my postings down there.
I was about to say, mate, like that for me is a really unique ability to relate to our clients from both the perspective of, whilst you didn't go through Duntroon as a cadet, you went through there as an instructor, and so you absolutely understand what are the requirements to come out of there. No one was shouting at you were shouting at people, but you've also got that contemporary, that experience of going through Kapuka, getting shouted at, so you can really relate
and shouting
and going back and shouting a couple of years later. But that what a great perspective to be able to give to our clients, and relate to them and understand, and advice as well. Like that young fella that we're coaching, or the future client that we've got. It was such a real pleasure to be able to speak to him about the experiences that he's going to go through.
Yep. I know the story already, but what was the hardest thing you had to do at Duntroon?
Oh, get fucked up. Mate.
What does that mean?
Mate. So, ladies and gentlemen, going through, there is a real sort of gate that cadets have to jump through. It's one of those. It's actually the thing you fear most about going to RMC. It's this, it's the horror story about going over.
And
the
even
hill.
you knew about it. It's even the myths of this ring very true in ADFA.
Oh, it echoes. It echoes through the generations in ADFA, as well as over there. And so it's exercise Shaggy Ridge, which is obviously named after one of the conflicts that we've had in the past in PNG, and. What it is, it's a test of your character through sleep and food deprivation. Laid over the top of that is a military exercise where you're going through. So you're in a full tactical environment. You've got all of the problem sets that you would go through in a normal exercise, some more complex in terms of thinking problems, some more physically demanding and the like. The kicker is you don't sleep and you don't eat and you don't know when you're going. And so
silent running.
And it's silent.
Complete ambiguous.
You have no fucking idea whether you're going well, going terrible, whether, other than the feedback you're getting directly from your colleagues, the people that you're on the course with, there's nothing from the instructors. And so you don't know right up until the last minute. Yeah, and past the last minute. So a week later, I think you find out whether you get an opportunity to go and do some retraining on starving yourself and exhausting yourself again.
It's one of those things you only want to do once.
Oh, mate. I think I lost about 8 kilos, mate. I genuinely, I say jokingly, but it was the best six-pack I've ever had in my life.
Gold. Literally, the CEO at the time, like I said, was an SAS guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, RT, this fucking version of Shaggy Ridge that they've been running over the last few years needs improving.
Yep.
It was always very good, and the legend was being upheld there, but he's like, go fucking do
optimize.
Go and put them through a little bloody commando, SF selection. So I was like, all right, sweet. I'll go do that then.
And you did. I want to say I remember it with fondness, but it absolutely wasn't. Getting off the bus after about a week of pre-fatigue. So pre-fatigue being battle PT, change into your classroom clobber, and then go back up to the classroom for a couple of hours and go back out and do some more PT. That was to sort of get us in the position of being sort of exhausted and already tired and getting us to that. So the start point wasn't actually the start point for us. It was, and I'm sure the rest of the classes to follow.
And you don't know the end point.
And you don't know the end point. So you don't know where the actual start point for the exercise is.
It's hard to gauge how much effort, am I at the halfway point? Do I need to just reserve a little bit? Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Exactly. Mate.
I won't, unless you probably know this. I knew the end point.
That's helpful to know now, mate.
Yeah. I planned the whole fucking thing.
He did, and he was a savage. He was a savage. We'd been through sort of 6.5 days of really, really intense, kind of testing.
What was the weather like on that one? Can you remind me?
Hot as fuck.
Right.
It was hot.
Yeah.
And we had the container in the middle, the trunk that we had in the middle with water jerrys in it and sort of star pickets.
That went everywhere with you.
It went everywhere. It was out.
Like
it was our
everywhere.
Up hills, down hills, into the water, everywhere, mate. Absolutely everywhere.
Now I'm giggling in the background.
Yeah.
Keep going.
We got to the end of the exercise and it was genuinely, and I say this, with all true sentiment, it was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my entire life up until that point. You're still full of piss and bravado, but it really, that washes away when you haven't slept for 2 or 3 days and you haven't eaten and you're being tested both mentally and physically, and often, alternate tests. It's like go and carry a shitload of stuff up that hill with this scenario, and then the next one is sort of like a dead reckoner, problem set where you're navving and you don't know where you're going or what you're doing, you're counting paces and then working where you are. So really different complex problem sets. 6.5 days of that with very, very little sleep, very, very little food. You are washed back to your bare bones as a character. You also get the opportunity or the privilege of seeing your colleagues washed back to the bare bones as well. And so
that's the most important bit.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a real, whilst you
leadership and teamwork, that's what it's all about.
In absolute adversity, you get a real understanding of what the kind of resolve that you have as a human being and what your body can do beyond what you think is capable. But also, I'm not sure if everybody got this out of it, but I certainly got the ability, I think, to see into the souls of my peers and their behaviours under adversity as well. Some people came up short, of course, and I'm sure I did in some areas as well. I'm certainly not going to stand here and say John Rambo'd it. It was shit house. But also, that you also get to see those people where you just see that someone has it in their guts. They just want it. They're never going to stop. They're never going to give up. And that's really inspiring to see in the human nature.
They're few and far between. The majority of people are in the middle or that's the whole fucking point. The point of the exercise is to find out where the self-awareness breaking point is.
Yeah.
So you make sure you don't ever get to that point when shit's happening for real on the side of a hill in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
And I know I used to say it all the time, when you guys get deployed like I just did, little did I know that there was going to be years and years and years of deployments thereafter. Yeah. I've run into so many other people that used to sit there that I've since caught up with, you and others, are like, I never really realised what you were talking about when you were saying, fucking listen to what I'm saying, this lesson that we're now putting forward, because it's going to serve you well down the track. Only when they're there, they're like, fuck, I wish I had listened a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I've also got a lot of mates that did a lot of rotations through Afghan and Iraq. And those guys and girls, they took a lot out of their information package and applying that at the college, being tested under pressure, being tested under fatigue. It really does provide you with the types of experience, exposures, education, experience that you need coming out the back end.
It's designed to be as hard as it possibly can, because when you reach your breaking point, you can put your arm up and you can be managed a little bit there. Yeah. You just chuck back in again straight away. But the ambo's just down the road. Yep. Fucking have a Sally Man biscuit. You're about to fall over. Have an hour off and you're back in.
Yep.
There ain't no Sally Man biscuit or there's no ambo in fucking Afghanistan. And you become a liability very, very quickly. So that's, if people are wondering, sitting there going, why was he so mean to fucking poor old Luke? It's got a fucking purpose, I promise.
It made me, honestly, coming out of that place, Anthony Birch was right. Coming out the back end of that place, it made me more of the human that I wanted to be. Putting me, testing my resolve, understanding, that I am fallible and I can make mistakes, but owning those mistakes is the most important thing. It made me more of what I wanted to be as a human.
What was your most enjoyable part? I'm really loving, by the way, of getting some real insights into you going through your basic training and knowing I was part of some of it. Yeah. What was some of the things you loved most about Duntroon?
Mate, the peer group that was established without a shadow of a doubt. There was the self-discovery that I went through, which was super important to form part of who I am as an adult, part of who I am as a person. But it was without a doubt that peer group that I established there. You are in a situation of adversity and you're under constant pressure, and pressure does either it forms diamonds, but I established, or it breaks shit. That peer group, it's still to this day very, very, very strong with a very close group of friends of mine, whereby there's almost no life curveball that can be tossed at us without the rest of us sort of being there to support each other. So that for me is something that still rings true to this day, is the absolute pinnacle for me.
Do you know what I love most about Duntroon? The dining in nights.
Oh, mate.
I used to be. I don't think there were. Once people got word that I fucking loved going to those things and just fucking turning into back to the rat bag again, and letting loose. And I know there was a bit of a poll there to go. Who wanted the host RT back in the day? But mate, I loved it. And I love seeing that all the guys and girls fucking letting loose as well, and doing the kangaroo courts and all. Like, you would have loved that camaraderie part of that network and that really deep relationships that you've now formed, and they're part of your ongoing mentoring group. Sure, you form those bonds when you're in the fucking depths of bloody Shaggy Ridge and someone's cooking a bloody barbecue for you that you're never going to eat, etc. You guys can ask Luke about that story another time offline. But it's also the good times that you have as well, and the sport you play and the camaraderie you get out of that.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like those, they make up core parts of being an officer. Like being able to maintain those networks outside of adversity as well, and over long periods of time. But you've got to have fun. You've got to let your hair down. Like it is so serious so much of the time for very good reason. You're talking about training for war and training for conflict and training in multilateral environments. It's a very serious business. But there also has to be an opportunity to be able to let your hair down as well, and dining in nights are one of the ways in which you get an opportunity to do that. And I would like to say that I took the most advantage of every opportunity that I had to let my hair down.
Yeah, it's great. Fuck, me too. And then of course, graduations there. Like if you haven't been to a graduation parade at Duntroon, go do yourself a favour. If you're down in Canberra, they're on every 6 months. And fucking go down there and like watch how the military really put on the celebration of welcoming the latest 90 odd bloody young lieutenants into the army, and how was that? Like who from your family come to see you, and like what was that like, etc.
I have a brother there, my grandparents. So I grew up with my grandparents. They were there to sort of, celebrate with me and clap me on and because it had been a long 4 years. And looking at if you do go and watch one of those parades, ladies and gents, please take into consideration or please observe the emotion that is attached to something so large as graduating from either an 18-month or a 4-year experience where you're being tested the whole time, where you don't know if you're going to make it to the end. There is a lot of emotion attached to that, and I still remember, I still genuinely remember the feeling in my stomach when we graduated, and throwing that hat in the air was incredible feeling. It was also a little bit nerve-wracking as well again, because the training wheels are off, mate.
Yeah, now you're all the way back to the start again. Yep. You're the newbie.
You are the new kid in the new fish in the pond. But you're expected to be at a certain standard. But soldiers, you've got, by virtue of the fact that you're wearing a rank slide, there is an expectation on you that you are a professional standard. You are exuding professional standard.
How old are you now?
22, 23.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
So still pretty fresh.
Tell us about your first posting,
mate. Yeah. First Signals Regiment. I went up there as a transport officer. I flipped a coin at Duntroon.
That's in Brisbane?
Yeah, up in Brizzy. So I flipped a coin at Duntroon, and if you're going for a combat or a competitive corps, if you don't put that first, of course, you're not going to get it. And I flipped a coin and transport came up, and there a whole bunch of personal reasons why that sort of ended up, transpiring the way that it was. But let's just say, I was very, very happy with going to transport and the opportunities it gave me. I looked at the long term. I was like, no slide on any other trade selection corps, that people make in defence, but I looked at sort of, what's going to serve me for the longevity of my life, and I thought logistics was going to be an option for me available to provide scope and, latitude down the track.
And it certainly did.
And it did. It absolutely did, mate.
That's the biggest issue that people that go to combat corps face. Like, I can't fucking do that in the real world. That's all I know how to do. Yeah. What do I do now?
Exactly.
But that's not, you went on a very different path. So let's talk about that for the last 10 minutes.
So mate, I jumped into my first position, which was the transport troop commander, and that was my first relationship that I had with my sergeant. And I still thank him to this day. I've got a great personal relationship with him.
I love that.
He was supportive. He was behind me 100% of the way. And as you'd expect in any leadership team, like in the business, like in any leadership team in the military, we would make a decision in the room and we would go out and it would be a unified decision. And we had the opportunity in there to sort of nug it out and what it looked like. But as soon as we walked out of there, whether I made a captain's call or whether he was sort of, no, boss, this is, we really need to be considering this sort of stuff. Whatever that decision was when we went out, it was unified.
It's always a test of loyalty, isn't it?
It is.
It's like, I didn't want to fucking do it this way. Yeah. No, mate, we're fucking doing it that way. The call's been made. Get on board.
Get in the boat and row.
Yeah. So we're doing it. You're doing it.
See, I did that for a bit, and then I kind of went on being Luke Millwood and choosing my own path all the time, I sort of, for own personal reasons, again, I selected to go down to Canberra as a lieutenant. And
what was down in Canberra?
My son. So my first son, Slater.
Great.
So I went back to establish a relationship with him. And
there's no harm doing that, mate. That's a fantastic thing to do.
It was a tough decision. I had both my OC and my CO sort of, Luke, you're foregoing your formative years as an officer, and that, to a degree, they're absolutely correct. And I think even though I was fairly a simple human at that time, I sort of thought about it, and I remember saying to my CO, so when you're laying on your deathbed, you're not going to remember working harder. You're going to remember the time that you spend with your family and the value, that you apply to that. And so, they dock them again. They pulled a rabbit out of the hat for me, which was really unusual. And they put me in a position in Army headquarters. So I was the SO3 ceremonial for 12 months.
Oh, beautiful.
Mate, I am the least ceremonious person on the face of the earth. Hate drill, hate uniform inspections, hate all that shit, and ended up being in charge of the policy that sort of guides that stuff. Did that for 12 months, but it really did give me an opportunity to start building my mentor base. And it was sort of, I started really seeing the value in having senior officers or, senior people within your trade, within your specialty, to sort of really start listening to, getting guidance from and allowing them to influence the way that you think. That was sort of a short-lived, experiment, and then I went out to headquarters jock, and I was a mid-junior captain going out to jock, so I was a little fish in a huge pond.
SO3 coffee and SO3 spreadsheets.
Yeah, no. So what was SO3? What did my boss call me? I think it was something like SO3 spreadsheets. He called me when I went in there, and I was like, "Oh, well, this is fucked."
Yeah.
What am I going to? But in hindsight, and I've often reflect on it, it gave me a really good understanding. And I actually related this to one of our clients that I was talking to last night. The opportunity that it gave me was to see the larger scale strategic mindset approach to what we are doing. So the capabilities that we apply as a junior officer, you don't get a real understanding of what we bring to bear.
Especially not at the unit level.
You don't. You absolutely don't. Like
You're at fucking formation level now.
Exactly. And so you are really seeing it, firsthand, and you're seeing those professional level MAPs, which is the military appreciation process, which is your planning sort of for mission profiles. You're really seeing that applied in the most professional standard at the highest level. Because those people at the higher level, 06s and sort of 1-stars, you're seeing them apply their skills, knowledge, and experience to our planning model, and you're really understanding the so what of what they want to get out of it. Because it's at that level where the so what matters, right? It's government policy, it's government intent, it's strategic intent, and strategic.
If we do this, here's the 4th, 5th, and 6th order effects as far. Yeah,
you're talking about international relationships. You're talking about all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that sort of put me in a good position. I then got picked up to go back to 85 Transport Troop, which was where I had my...
Out at Ambley?
Out at Ambley. I had my second close relationship with my sergeant. Again, same environment, mate. He was fucking stellar. He was just this superstar performer. He had my back, I had his back, no matter what. It was that really unified approach to what we were doing. And it was at that time where I, started to sort of waver about my time in defence and sort of said, okay, it's been a great journey, but I think I'm starting to come to the end state for me. And so that was about 2014 at this point.
In the weeds anyway.
Yeah.
Doing that stuff.
Well, I'd actually gone and sort of sat down and said, do I want to keep moving around for the rest of my life? Do I want to be an OC? Do I want to be a CO? I love working with soldiers. That's the highlight of any officer.
The higher you go up, the less you have of that.
And that was my thought process, mate. And I was, how many times am I going to get to be with soldiers for the rest of my career? It might be 4 years. If I was only going to be an OC, it might only be 2. And so, you're talking about a 25, 30-year career and you're going, another 2 years with soldiers?
Even as an OC, you're talking to your troop commanders and they're talking to the sergeant. Unless someone's in the shit or doing very, very well or you're at a social function or you're playing sport, as an OC, you don't really talk to the soldiers that much.
Exactly, mate, exactly. And then so I ended up sort of sparked my interest into international engagement. And I guess this is a huge pivot point for my career where, I'd done the training, done the logistics and stuff, and then sort of started peeping behind the curtain of what international engagement meant. And so subsequently went down to study Portuguese I did that for 12 months at the School of Languages.
But you did that with the view of going to East Timor.
I did.
Right, so you need a sponsor to go down to Langs.
Yep.
You didn't just pluck Portuguese out of your ass.
No.
Yeah.
I needed a sponsor, and I needed the intent.
A reason and a purpose.
Yeah, the intent had to be there, and I had to apply it back to sort of what defence was going to get out of me going there, and a capability development brick in and to itself. Of course, most of our listeners will know, and you may have heard one of our podcasts before. My wife also happens to be Brazilian, so it kind of it was of double benefit to me to be able to go down and learn that language. First and foremost was so I could hear her talking poorly about me to her mother.
and her mother whinging about you to her, yes?
No, I'm kidding. My lovely wife wouldn't do that. And then the other thing, of course, was to bring that capability for defence. And so went down there and fully embraced it.
What was that like down at Langs?
Amazing. Incredible.
Super relaxed.
Yep, super relaxed, mate. Like you go from
none of this time pressure stuff.
None
Obviously, you learn how to be punctual, professional, and great levels of dedication and teamwork. But the shackles are off.
Shackles are off.
And
It's you.
Yeah.
You focus on your learning, your requirement, and it's not like in the previous example I gave with ADFA. It's not like that where you kind of split between the two. Your sole responsibility there is to become a linguist. I think the only other parade that they had was PT and sort of the afternoon boozer parade, as it was called before. But that was an amazing experience, being able to genuinely, after 8 months of studying a language, coming out with a level of competency that would allow me to thrive in the environment was pretty incredible. Yeah.
I've heard you speak Portuguese a lot, and for someone who doesn't, I know how to speak left-handed Swahili after about 15 beers, and some of you heard me in full flight there. Others that haven't, fucking hold on if you get that opportunity. But yeah, it's a real... it's an interesting experience to see you speak so fluently, and then you just interchangeably go back to English, and it's fucking phenomenal to observe.
It comes.
I'm in awe of it.
Yeah.
This is how well I'm explaining it. I'm in awe. Let's just say that.
I guess my response to that would be I'm a kind of meat and three veg kind of guy. So if I can do it, I think at least most of our audience would be able to do it as well. Just under that environment of that really fostered environment of learning and
doing nothing else but that for 8 months. Yeah, cool. So you went to Timor, mate. Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Mate. So I was I really reinforced that mentorship, and I became very close friends with the colonel, and he's still a very close mentor of mine now. Even though he's out and he's moved overseas and that sort of stuff, I still connect with him probably once a week, and I sort of get advice and guidance off him quite regularly. He sort of saw the need and the capability gap that was occurring in the space that we were going into. So the Defence Cooperation Program, so he saw that personnel management gap. He saw that logistics management gap that was in our organisation. So we're mentoring the Força Falantil, which is the military for Timor-Leste. He basically threw himself over a barrel to get this position created. I went back to be, whilst he was doing that, as the defence attaché over in Timor, I went back to 9FSB, stepped up again into a major's position as my last year captain, and I was the operations manager for 9FSB, which is out of...
That would have been good.
Yeah, mate, it taught me systems.
Yep.
It taught me how to apply a problem set and resolve it with systems. Because I hadn't really had that resource management exposure. I hadn't really had that training liability exposure at a larger level. Like, sure, you train your troops, but it was like, training liabilities across an organisation. Well, how the fuck am I going to manage this? Well, I need to apply a systems-based approach to be able to, resolve this without sort of, eating the elephant one bite at a time.
Whilst making sure that your daily and weekly actions are also congruent with what the higher level formation needs you to do as well.
Absolutely.
You can't just be doing shit off on a tangent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congruency and alignment is really pivotal.
Absolutely. Alignment with their resource requirements, alignment with their training outcomes, alignment with the culture of the organisation. All of those things and those pressures that were coming down. And, some of our listeners will understand this, but the CO of a unit, they rely so heavily on the operations officer to be able to run the unit on their behalf. Like, it's the OPSO that runs the day-to-day business, the week-to-week, month-to-month. And, the CO is very much a leadership position, and so they're focused on the leadership outcomes of an organisation, but they also more and more are getting dragged into the administrative requirements, the sort of discipline stuff, the investigations. And
in business, I call that, so the dynamics of the CEO, runs the vision, he runs the vision, mission, values, and like the overall human dynamics of it all, but the COO, or the chief of operations, they run the mechanics.
Yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
what you would have been doing there. It's like, right, how do I implement or put steps in place to execute what the overall visionary or commander's intent's going to be.
Yeah. It was
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was a tough 12 months. Like it really was. It was digging deep. I felt out of depth, quite a lot as you do as a young officer.
That's how you learn.
Exactly. You got to feel comfortable.
Again, you're like, oh, sweet, I just got fucking promoted. Now I'm a brand new major. And I'm back to the fucking start again.
So true. And then, so from there, mate, I consolidated my officership as a junior officer and started moving into the field ranks and picked up, they came back and said, you can come over to, I actually got a posting to Land Force Design in Army Headquarters in Canberra. And the Colonel...
That would have just been at APN.
Yeah.
Whilst you were being sponsored over
It was.
Timor,
It was while they stood up a secondment for me to go over to Timor. Went over there and it was for 2 months to prove the value of the position. 2 days before the 2 months was up, they said it's now 6 months. And then, so some of the listeners will remember that Franny was pregnant day 4 of me being over in Timor. So she was kind of hanging
back in Melbourne.
Back in
Canberra. Sorry,
yes. Back in sunny Canberra in the middle of winter. And so then she, that 6 month period had come up and we were sort of heading towards the end of that. And it was about 7 days before that, they sort of said, hey, mate, the position's been turned on full time. So that work that we'd put in and sort of those strategic level documents that were written to prove the value. That was turned on, and they said, we want you to go down and do TEDM. So we went to go back to the School of Languages and do a TEDM short course. And I said, look, I have to spend some time with Franny. She's a critical component to this. So if she can work remotely, then we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I'm sorry, I can't commit to another 2 months away while my wife is heavily pregnant. And fortunately enough, she was able to come down.
So many other blokes that are listening to this and like just nodding their head going... Good call, Luke.
Yeah.
And luckily a chain of command was being supportive
Yeah.
whilst trying to stand up a very critical capability in the DCP as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's like there is competing priorities there.
Yeah, and the leadership team, for the most part, the leadership team at the senior level at least were absolutely fantastic and supportive, understanding that you are genuinely in a hardship environment. Like no one's shooting at you. No, it's not like the threat profile is sort of, equal or, greater than or even less than anything like Afghan or Iraq, but it's just there are so many other pressures that apply, in an environment where you're working overseas, you don't have access to all the resources, you don't have access to medical, and you've got that family planning consideration to take into account as well.
Love it. You know what we're going to do off the cuff? We're going to press pause there. We're going to use that as a little bit of a cliffhanger because I know you spent 5 amazing years in Timor and you went through your own roller coaster ride over there.
Yes.
And then you've obviously just separated from the military and there's another roller coaster ride.
Yeah, man.
And now you're on this other fucking roller coaster with your Axon shirt on. So there's so much more to you that I want to be able to deep dive, mate. I've really, really loved, why you joined the military, what it was like with the scholastic and the military stuff, being in ADFA. How you met this buffhead as I marched you over the hill there and then sort of really flourished in your own military career. So I hope everyone really, really enjoyed that. That was a cracking episode of Axons Unleashed, mate. I can't wait to do episode 2 or version 2 of this particular story because you've got so much more to pass on.
I'm genuinely looking forward to passing it on. A lot of the stuff before was about sort of experience and that sort of stuff. I'm really excited about passing on some of the struggles that I really had personally going through that journey. I'm in a space where I want to share that with our clients. I want to share that with our community so that, that they understand that they're not alone. They're not alone going through some of those struggles. So, I'm really looking forward to that.
I know the journey you've been on has been inspiring even over the last 12 months or so, 15, 16 months since you come back from Timor. So there's so many other lessons learned that I don't want to skip over. So, awesome. Strap the fuck in for that one. All right. Thanks, buddy. That was great. See you next time.